Zohar HaKadosh, Parashat Bo, Im yesh עליו מלאך מליץ, if he has over him a defending angel. And this is page Daf Lamed Bet Amud Bet 32, the second side. This also happens to be the Chok L'Yisrael Sunday section of Parashat Bo. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Bo el Paro. Hashem tells Moshe, come to Paro, ki ani hechbadti et libo v'gomer, because I have hardened his heart, etc. Rabbi Yehuda patach ve'amar. So that was the opening pasuk that links to the parasha. Now comes Rabbi Yehuda and opens up another pasuk, and everything's going to fit together, at least at the end. Patach ve'amar in Tehillim Peitet 89, Ashrei ha'am yodei tiru'ah. Praiseworthy is the nation that knows the tiru'ah, the blast of the shofar. Hashem be'or panecha yehalechun. Hashem, in the light of your face, they walk. Kama itzterichu b'nei nasha, kama tzirichim b'nei adam, how much do men have to lalechet lemehach be'orchei dekucha brichu, be'darchei hakadosh baruch hu, to walk in the way of Hashem. Ulmetar pikudei oraita, v'lishmor mitzvot haTorah, and to keep the mitzvot of the Torah. Begin de yizkun ba le'alma de'ateh, kedei sheyizku ba la'olam haba, in order that they should merit to have olam haba, the next world. Ul shezabalon mekol kitrugin dil'ela vetata, ul hatzil otam mekol kitrugim shelemala umata, and to save them from all prosecution from above and below. Begin deha kemad ishtechachu mekatregin be'alma letata, mepene shehare kemo shenimtsaim mekatregim ba'olam lemata, because just like we find there are prosecutors in this world down here, like you have district attorneys, real prosecutors, meaning Hachename ishtechachu mekatregin le'ela dekaime alayhu debnei nasha. Kach gam nimtsaim mekatregim lemala she'omdim al bnei ha'adam. So too also you find prosecutors in Shamayim lemala that are also standing on the men, meaning to prosecute them. So just like you have down here the idea of a court system and a prosecution, we also have that in Shamayim. And this could be the reason this topic is being opened from the phrase Bo el Paro, because we're talking about the prosecution. Now, Paro was a monarch, absolute monarch, the king of most of the world, Egypt. And he's the judge and the jury. He's the prosecutor. And Hashem said he's about to cause trouble because I hardened his heart. So we see now it's a great way to open to say, now that we're talking about prosecutors down here, let's tell you that we have the same thing in Shamayim. That's where this flow is coming from that pasuk. Now, what does the tiru'ah have to do with it? This we'll find out later. Now, also, if you look into the Ramchal, who we always know is the nimshal of the mashal of the Zohar, and he explains things, he says in Derech Hashem, the way of God, in 2:6:1, basically part 2 and then chapter 6. In the beginning of chapter 6, he says like this: God arranged matters so that his direction of the world should resemble that of an earthly government. The kingdom of heaven resembles an earthly kingdom. So we see already the Ramchal is talking about this. Now, as the Zohar piece continues, we're going to see more what the Ramchal has to say about it. Now we continue. Inun de'abdin pikude oraita, elu she'osim mitzvot haTorah, those who do the mitzvot of the Torah, ve'azle be'orach meshar bidchala de marehon, ve'holchim bederech yishara biyirat Adonam, and they walk in the straight path of fear of their master. Kama inun sanegorin dekaimin alaihu le'ela, kama hem sanegorim she'omdim alehem le'ma'la, how many defending angels are there that are standing on him in heaven? Meaning he gets a lot. When we say how many, it means he's getting a lot of good angels on his side. These people that walk in the way of Torah and they have Yirat Hashem. Kam mahem sanegorim, how many sanegorim, defending angels, do they have? Kema de'at amar, like it says, kemo shata omer, in the pasuk in Iyov, chapter Lamed Gimel 33, verse 23, Kaf Gimel, it says, Im yesh alav maliץ meliץ echad mini aleph, which is what this piece started as the title, if you remember. Which means, does he have a person over him, an angel that is a defendant on him, even 1 out of 1,000? Meaning you could have a lot of sins that are 1,000 negative angels that you created on the scale, and then you have one good angel because of a mitzvah, and he could outweigh the others. And of course, this is talked about in different places in the Gemara and in different places that explain this Zohar, but just to leave it like that for now. And it says, Uchtiv, in the next pasuk, in 24, it says, Vaychunenu, like the word chen, Hashem says, all right, I'll have chen on him, I'll have mercy on him, even from that little good that he has. Vayomer peda'ehu, Hashem says, redeem him, set him free. Meredet shachat, from going into the pit. Matzati kofer, I found a kapara for him, that I can get him out, because he had this little bit of good. That's why the rabbi is saying, make sure you do good, make sure you do Torah and mitzvot, because you're going to need those. Even though we sin along the way, those little bits of good is going to help you. Begin kach zaka'a ihu man dinatir pekude oraita. Mishum kach, because of this, zaka'ihu, a person is worthy, he has a zechut, mishe shomer mitzvot haTorah, a person who keeps the mitzvot of the Torah. Amar lo Rabbi Chiya. Rabbi Chiya now asked him, told him, Im kach, ihache, if so, amai itzderich hacha malach delehevi sanegora ale de barnash. Madua tzarich kan malach sheye sanegor al ha'adam. Why do you need an angel to be a defender on this man? Meaning Hashem can do it himself, he's going to say. V'haketiv, because it says, Varekatuv, in Mishlei Gimel Kaf-Vav, Pasuk 26, Ki Hashem yeh becheslecha v'shamar raglecha melached. And God will be a trust for you. The word kesel is like bitachon, or to have trust and hope or confidence. V'shamar raglecha melached, and he will watch your feet or your steps from being captured. He'll watch you. Uchtiv, and we have another pasuk in Tehillim, Kuf Kaf Aleph, pasuk Zayin. Hashem yishmorcha mikol ra. Hashem will watch you from any evil, like we say in the Shila Ma'alot. Deha chame kuchabrichu kol ma debarnash abed ba'alma. Shehare ro'eh HaKadosh Baruch Hu kol ma sheben adam oseh ba'olam. Hashem sees everything the person does. Hen tam, hen bish. Hen tov, hen ra, whether good or bad. V'chen hu omer, and it also says in Yirmiyahu 23, Pasuk 24, Im yisater ish b'mistarim. If a person will be hiding somewhere, meaning you can't hide, V'ani lo er'enu ne'um Hashem, and I won't see him, Hashem says. So it means Hashem knows everything. So what do we need all these angels for? If Hashem is anyway, He comes to our rescue. We don't need the angels to come to our rescue. So it says, Amar le Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda answered him, Rabbi Chaya, Kola hache hu vadai. Hakol kach hu vadai. He's saying, certainly it's as it's so. Certainly it's what you say, meaning you're right. Hashem knows everything and He doesn't need the angels. But we're going to find that He made it anyway. It's not that He needs them, which is a chidush in itself. You know, there's many goyim out there that, God forbid, they even think God is a human, chas v'shalom. So to tell them God doesn't need anyone to help Him is a chidush right there. But now let's see what else He's going to answer. He says, Aval haketiv, but it is written in Iyov bet Pasuk Hey, Vega el atzmo ve'el besaro, and touch himself and his flesh. This is really the Satan himself talking. It says that the Satan was asking Hashem, he said, Ulam shelach na yadecha, if you would send your hand, Vega el atzmo ve'el besaro, and, touch Iyov in this way on himself and his flesh, Im lo el panecha yibarecheka, if He will not bless you, which is a nice way of saying the opposite. So it just shows, again, there are angels doing the work of Hashem, so to speak. And it also says, V'tisiteni bo lebaleo chinam. This is Pasuk Gimel over there. This is Hashem talking. Vayomer Hashem el hasatan. He says, Hasamta libecha el avdi Iyov. Do you see how good Iyov is? And he says, and you want to entice me to swallow him up? V'tisiteni bo lebaleo chinam. This was the conversation that was going on. And so Rabbi Yehuda is continuing to say, after he mentioned these Pesukim, so he says, Le'achaza deha reshu it mesar le'sitra achra le'katrega. Leharot. This is to show, these Pesukim are showing, Sheharei reshut nimsera le'tzad ha'acher le'katreg, that permission is given over to the other side to prosecute. Al milin de alma, al divrei ha'olam, for worldly affairs, worldly matters. Ul itmasera bidoi, ul himmaser biyadav, and to be given over to his hands. Meaning there are angels doing whatever Hashem could do Himself. Now, all Rabbi Yehuda did when he said you're right to Rabbi Chaya, he just said, and I'll give you Pesukim to show that that is the way the system is. Meaning he didn't tell him the answer of why Hashem is doing it. He just proved to him that He does do it. And now the Zohar explains, if we want to know why is He doing it, so he says, V'chol ilen orchin timirin kame kuchabrichu. V'chol elu dirachim, all these matters, nistarim lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they're hidden by Hashem. Ve'let ant kedai lemehach abatraihu. Ve'en ata ra'ui lalechet acharehem. We have no right to seek after it. Begin de inun nimusin de kuchabrichu. Mipnei shehem chukei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because these are the laws of Hashem. Meaning His laws, like His physics. The laws that He set up, meaning the workings of the universe. This is how He did it. And we really have no right to know. Bnei nasha lav inun rasha'in ledakteka batraihu. Bnei adam en hem rasha'im ledakdek acharehem. Men have no right, like Rashai, not Rasha, Rasha'im, they have no right, with an aleph, לדקדק אחריהם, to try and figure it out. Zulat bar inun zakae keshot, except for those, it says zakae, like zakai, but it means tzaddik. Tzaddik keshot, emet. Only the tzaddikei emet, they can seek out a reason and even maybe find it. Diyad'in razeh oraita, sheyod'im sodot Torah, because they know the secrets of the Torah. Razeh is like the secrets. Ve'azlin be'orcha de'chochmeta, ve'hochim be'derech ha'chochma, and they walk in the way of chochmah, because this is of a great chokhmah of Hashem that He does this. Leminda inun milin sitimin deoraita, lada'at elu devarim situmim shel haTorah. They know from this chokhmah, they know these hidden things of the Torah. So the tzaddikim, they know, and they might even tell their students. It's not supposed to be written, because it's something of the deepest secrets of the universe, and the Zohar does not want to drop it down. If you learn it from your rabbi, if you can, fine. But there's something going on here. Now, when we look in the Ramchal, in paragraph 3 of the same chapter, it says, from all this we see that it is a fundamental principle that God does not judge the world according to His own knowledge, but according to the system that He desired and designed for this purpose. And then it says, as we have already stressed a number of times, none of this system is needed by God to obtain information, for all things were foreseen by Him from the very beginning of time. God decreed, however, in His chokhmah, it says, bechokhmato hanifla'ah, in His great wisdom, He decreed that this is how creation must operate. Now, how interesting, the Ramchal, he uses the same word of that chokhmah that it said in the Zohar, that it's Hashem's great chokhmah that is why He's doing this. And again, nobody knows. Nobody wants to drop the secret. Even the Ramchal is beating around the bush. So what's so secretive over here? Now really the Ramchal came to this world to teach the nimshal of the parable, meaning the explanation, and while he's making it very mysterious so far, when you turn the page and you get to paragraph 4, he does say the answer. So let's see, we'll read a little bit from the Ramchal. It said, God also appointed a prosecutor known as the Satan. How interesting, the Zohar also started to talk about the Satan when we asked the question. So he's really, there's something of following the suit here. And we'll see what the Zohar might have even meant. And it says the day came, which like with Eov, he brings the Eov that the day came, it was Rosh Hashanah, and the Satan also came among them. Now he says, the function of the Satan is to seek judgment before these tribunals and bring action alerting the court to sit in judgment. This is also a result of God's goodness. So let's see now. We know the Chokhmah of Hashem made it so, but it's also the goodness of Hashem, Tuvo, His Tov. Let's see what's so good about making a Satan that we think is so bad. It's the result of His goodness since, and this is the punchline, since even though a person's sins are known to God, he is not brought to judgment until he is indicted by this prosecutor. And then he says, the prosecutor can only hasatan mekatreg b'sh'ata sakana. There are special times that he can actually prosecute, like if we put ourselves in a dangerous situation. And it says, Shelosha mazkirim avonotav shel adam. 3 things make heaven remember a person's sins. In Berachot Nun Hey 55, it says the 3 things are kir natui, a leaning wall, which means if you put yourself in danger. Ve'iyun tefillah, if you demand really that your prayer be answered, that kind of an attitude. Umoser din al chavero l'shamayim, and if you also make judgment for your friend, either in shamayim or even down here, so it's like measure for measure, just to show it's in our hands for the courtroom to open. That's the idea. And when we say giving over your friend to the court, that also has to do with the big idea that's dropped down by the Chafetz Chaim, which is Lashon Hara. When a person speaks Lashon Hara, he's also Moser Din al Chavero in a way, because he's making the courtroom upstairs to look at what he did. So then they'll look at him. So the point is that the great kindness that God did by making a system is that now we can beat the system, since it's in our hands and things we do that open up the courtroom. If it was just God alone and nobody there doing anything, so then if we sin, boom, guy gets punished. There's no hiding anything from anywhere. But since Hashem made angels in charge, now we can work around those angels. You see, but it's still Hashem knowing everything. No one said he doesn't know it. He just made this system so that we can get around the system. And the truth, if you look now in the Zohar more closely, first the question was, we have angels that are at our defense. That's what it started. And then it said, what do we need that for? Why do we need a defending angel if Hashem is going to defend us? So the answer was, look at Eov and the Satan. That was an answer. Meaning, it works like this. Why do we need a defending side? And the answer is because you have to make it even. Since there is a satanic side, you have to make now the other side, the good lawyer side, the defender, to make it equal. You can't have a court with one side. So that is the way the answer was flowing. Why do you need a defending angel? The answer is because you have the Satan on the other side. Then the question is, but what do you need a Satan side for? What do you need that side for the prosecution? And that answer is so that you can get around the prosecution. We don't need to get around the good side. We just want to get around that side. So that was the flow of the Zohar. That's why it started to talk about the Satan as the answer. Even though it looked like he wasn't answering, it was, in a way, the answer. And that's why the Ramchal also, before he said this, he said that Hashem made a Satan. He was really following, again, the way this whole Zohar was. Now we can understand the verse that Rabbi Yehuda opened with, Ashrei ha'am yoda'eh tiru'ah. Praiseworthy or happy is the nation that they know the tiru'ah. Because what's the tiru'ah? That's the antidote. There's also times that Hashem will open the courtroom, even if we're good and we don't speak Lashon Hara, the courtroom will still open, which is dangerous for us. And that is like on Rosh Hashanah. And Rosh Hashanah, you can't help it. It's a judgment day. But Hashem said, don't worry, my kids. I have something for you that's going to save you. And that's called the shofar. The shofar, while the courtroom had to open because it's a day of judgment automatically, the shofar closes the judgment and now makes God voluntarily closes the doors, throws the Satan out, and he goes, sits on his own chambers, like when you say, meet me in my chambers, the judge says, and we'll work out a deal. And I'll be more merciful to you, which is Avinu way of punishing instead of Malkeinu way of punishing. That's what all this is. You can refer to Rabbi Kessin and his whole talk about Shemirat HaLashon to get more an understanding of the topic. But that's what it means. Ashrei ha'am yodei tiru'ah. Happy are the people that they know the tiru'ah, to sound the trumpet, the shofar, because that's going to stop the Satan. And happy are those who know about it, Yodei Tiru'ah, which means they know the secret of it. And what's that big secret that the Zohar didn't want to say? didn't want to spell out, even though we're noticing it saying it at the end, it just didn't spell it out, is that we know the logic of the Tiru'ah, end of anything of the courtroom, is Hashem made a courtroom so that you can get around the courtroom. So let's make it our business to get around it. Now, why was this so secretive? Why didn't anyone want to mention this before? Well, before Mashiach comes, all of the things that have to do with Shamayim and things that's going on in heaven were always secretive. You can always ask, why doesn't Hashem let us know? It's also part of reward to know, because now it's a great piece of information. Maybe we weren't worthy about it yet. Also, people might take it the wrong way and say, when wicked people get good things like that light of the first day, Hashem didn't want them to have it because they'll misuse it. Maybe some guy or people, would say, oh, so now I have a green light to sin, and just don't speak Lashon Hara and I'll be okay. Actually, it's not true, because you're still going to get punished. You just get punished a little bit more leniently. But we don't want people to take it the wrong way when they're not worthy. That's why things of this type of a nature, of what goes on in Shamayim, are sometimes held secret. But there's a time in history that Hashem says, I'm going to let this come down now. Like he told Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, in the end of Patach Eliyahu, he said, now the reshut is to you that you can reveal this material now, where the reshut was not given to anyone ad ke'an until this time. You can read that at the end there. So once the Ramchal came to be down here, he already opened up a lot of this information. And then the Chafetz Chaim continued on it, and he explained it. And then, of course, you have Rabbi Kessin, who further elaborated on it. And the truth, we wouldn't know hardly what we know if it wasn't for Rabbi Kessin explaining what all this means about Shemirat HaLashon and how our mazal is affected by it.